Ethan had thought that after the Star Wars ended, life would finally slow down for him. The galaxy had been through unimaginable chaos. Entire star systems had been reshaped, countless lives lost, and civilizations pushed to the edge. For years he had wandered from one colony to another, avoiding the headlines of new conflicts, staying away from politics, and trying to live quietly. He had told himself that the war was behind him, that the memories of battles, explosions, and desperate moments could finally be left alone. On this quiet day, Ethan stood on the observation deck of his small home on the colony of Virelia 3, watching twin suns dip below the horizon. The sky was painted in shades of orange and violet, casting a calm glow over the sprawling cities below. For a moment he allowed himself to breathe and enjoy the peace he had fought so hard to find. Then, without warning, the quiet was broken. A streak of light cut across the sky, a ship descending from orbit. Its design was unlike anything Ethan had seen in recent years. Sleek, elegant, yet powerful, with curves that reflected the twin suns' glow. Something about it seemed familiar, though he could not place it immediately. The ship landed softly in the open plains just outside his home. A hatch opened and a figure stepped out. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He froze, staring at her. It was Liara. Liara, the alien woman who had once fought beside him in the heat of the Star Wars battles, was standing there. Her presence was unmistakable. She had changed. Her posture was taller, more regal, and her eyes shone like distant galaxies reflecting strength and wisdom. The markings on her skin glimmered faintly, patterns that Ethan remembered from their last encounter, signs of her alien heritage and her warrior spirit. Ethan took a cautious step forward. His voice caught as he said, "Liara." She looked directly at him and smiled faintly, though there was a seriousness in her eyes. "Ethan," she said softly, almost a whisper. "Have you forgotten me, human?" The word struck him harder than any battle ever had. Forgotten her? How could he forget the countless nights they had spent in life or death situations? How could he forget the missions where he had relied on her alien instincts to survive? Or the times she had saved his life with precision and courage? He had tried to push those memories away to live a life without danger. But it was impossible. They were etched into his very being. I could never forget you," Ethan replied, his voice steadying as he approached. "But why are you here?" I thought the war was over for both of us." Liara's eyes softened slightly, but the intensity remained. "The war may be over, but its echoes still reach across the stars. I have returned because something dangerous is rising again. Something that threatens more than just one system. I needed to find you, Ethan. You are the one I trust above all others." Ethan's mind raced. After years of peace, the thought of another conflict made him uneasy. He had promised himself a life without war, without fighting, without running for his life every day. And yet there was a pull he could not ignore. He remembered the countless missions where they had relied on each other, where human ingenuity had paired perfectly with alien skills. He remembered her voice in the middle of chaos, calm yet commanding. "What kind of danger?" he asked carefully. Liara stepped closer. Her presence was both comforting and intimidating. "A rogue faction," she explained, "survived the war. They discovered a weapon, hidden in the outer sectors, capable of destabilizing entire star systems. If it is activated, the colonies you call home, they will not survive." Ethan's stomach tightened. He had thought the galaxy was healing, but the possibility of such a threat brought back old fears. He studied her face, searching for any hint of exaggeration or manipulation. There was none. Her expression was serious and her eyes told the truth. "I've tried to stay away from this," Ethan admitted. "I thought my duty ended when the war ended. I wanted peace." Liara reached out and gently placed her hand on his shoulder. The touch was unexpected, almost human in its warmth. "Peace is fragile, Ethan, and sometimes it requires courage to protect it. I did not come here to drag you into another war, but I came because I know that together, we can stop what is coming. Alone, we may fail." Ethan looked at her, seeing the same resolve that had saved his life countless times. He felt the old fire of courage ignite within him, the same courage that had carried him through battles that seemed impossible. He realized he could not turn away, not when the people he cared for and the galaxy itself could be at risk. "All right," he said finally, his voice firm. "I'll help. Tell me everything." Liara nodded. "There is little time. The faction's movements are hidden. but I have traced them to a series of abandoned colonies. They are gathering forces, preparing the weapon. We must move quickly. Ethan felt a mix of excitement and dread. The life of calm isolation he had built was over. He would return to danger, to battles, to moments where his life could be lost in an instant. Yet standing beside Liara, he also felt alive in a way he had not in years. As they prepared to leave, Liara glanced at him once more. "You have changed," she observed. "You have grown stronger in ways you do not yet realize. But you will need to trust yourself fully if we are to succeed. And you?" Ethan asked. "Have you changed?" Liara smiled faintly. "I have grown wiser. The war teaches lessons, human. Some are easy. Some are learned only through survival. I have returned not only to stop this threat, but to see if the bond we shared remains." Ethan hesitated. The bond, yes, it remained. It had never faded, though he had tried to ignore it. There had always been a connection, born of mutual respect and shared danger. He realized now how much he had missed it, and perhaps how much he had missed her. The next morning, they set out aboard Liara's ship, a sleek vessel capable of navigating through even the most hazardous regions of space. Ethan watched the colony shrink below them, feeling a pang of nostalgia. This quiet life, he thought, may never be his again, but he also understood that some things, duty, courage, bonds forged in fire, were impossible to leave behind. Liara guided the ship with precision, dodging asteroids and the remnants of old battlefields. As they moved through the stars, she explained more about the rogue faction. They were remnants of the most dangerous elements from the Star Wars conflict, refusing peace, driven by greed and vengeance. They had discovered technology hidden in the depths of uncharted sectors, technology capable of turning the galaxy's fragile peace into chaos. Ethan listened carefully, absorbing every detail. He asked questions, offering human insights that only someone who had survived countless wars could provide. Liara responded with admiration, noting that human strategy and intuition often surprised even the most advanced alien species. As night fell on the starboard side of the ship, Ethan found a quiet moment to look at Liara. Her silhouette against the star-filled sky was both alien and beautiful. He thought about the battles they had fought side by side, the dangers they had survived, and the trust they had built. He realized that their reunion was more than a coincidence, it was destiny. Liara turned to him, sensing his thoughts. "Do you remember the first battle we fought together?" she asked. Ethan chuckled softly, recalling the chaos of that day. "I remember. I thought we would both die, and yet, somehow we survived. You saved me more than once, and you saved me," Liara replied. "Not with strength alone, but with courage and creativity. That is why I sought you out, Ethan. The galaxy needs more than power. It needs the heart and mind of humans like you." Ethan felt a surge of pride, mixed with the weight of responsibility. The quiet life he had longed for could never replace this. He had chosen to live among the stars, facing danger with allies he trusted. And now, with Liara by his side, he knew that the next chapter of his life was about to begin. One filled with challenges, discoveries, and perhaps something more. As the ship disappeared into the depths of space, heading toward the unknown threats that waited in the outer sectors, Ethan took a deep breath. He could not predict the dangers ahead, but he understood one truth clearly. The bond between a human and an alien warrior, forged in the fire of war, could withstand anything. And he would not forget that. Not now. Not ever. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a reminder of the vastness of the galaxy and the battles that still waited. But for the first time in years, Ethan felt ready. With Liara returning, the past had come alive once more. Not to haunt him, but to guide him toward the future. And as Liara asked again, softly, almost teasingly, "Have you forgotten me, human?" Ethan smiled, knowing that some bonds once formed are never forgotten. The stars stretched endlessly outside the cockpit, glowing softly against the darkness of space. Ethan sat beside Liara, studying the navigation charts she had pulled up. Every point of light represented a star system, and some of them, she explained, were no longer safe. Rogue factions had claimed them, remnants of the Star Wars conflict that refused to surrender even after peace treaties were signed. Liara's ship moved silently, gliding through the void with elegance. Its hull shimmered faintly under the light of distant suns, Ethan had flown ships before, but this one was different. Its systems were advanced beyond any human design he had seen, capable of traveling through hazardous sectors that would destroy ordinary vessels. "Where exactly is this weapon?" Ethan asked, keeping his voice low. "Do you know what it can do?" Liara's eyes reflected the starlight as she spoke. "We do not have all the details. The rogue faction calls it the Stellar Core, a device rumored to destabilize planetary systems. It is hidden in a cluster of abandoned colonies in the Vorith sector. The weapon is powered by rare energy cores, and it can trigger chain reactions that could destroy entire planets if activated." Ethan felt a chill. He had fought in battles where ships were destroyed in seconds, where entire planets were at risk. But hearing it from Liara, seeing her concern, made it real in a way that no report or briefing ever could. "How did they survive after the war?" he asked. All intelligence suggested they were scattered or eliminated. Liara's jaw tightened. "They were clever. They knew how to hide, how to blend into neutral systems. While we were celebrating peace, they were gathering resources, building their strength, and waiting for the right moment. Some even have remnants of technology stolen from our fleets." Ethan took a deep breath. He had hoped for a quiet life, but it seemed fate had other plans. He looked at Liara, remembering the battles they had faced together. The nights when survival was uncertain, the moments when only trust kept them alive. "Then we have to stop them," he said. "No matter what it takes," Liara nodded. "That is why I returned. I cannot do this alone. I need your knowledge, your human intuition. The galaxy has many powerful species, but humans, you adapt. You think differently. That is why I came for you." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. He had always known humans were resourceful, but hearing it from someone as advanced and experienced as Liara made him realize the weight of his role. "Where do we start?" he asked. Liara pointed to a small cluster of stars on the map. "First, we gather intelligence. These colonies are abandoned but not empty. The faction has hidden drones and automated defenses. We need to locate their central hub to understand their plans. After that, we can plan an approach to neutralize the weapon." As the ship sped toward the Vorith sector, Ethan and Liara reviewed all available data on the rogue faction. Every encounter, every report from scouts, every intercepted message was carefully analyzed. Ethan used human logic and strategy, while Liara added her alien perspective, abilities to sense energy signatures and detect hidden patterns. Together, they formed a team that was efficient, fast, and unpredictable. Hours passed, and the ship entered the outer edges of the Vorith sector. Ethan stared at the faint glow of distant colonies, abandoned but still eerie under the dim starlight. Some buildings were crumbling, others overgrown with alien flora that had survived decades without maintenance. The silence was unsettling. Liara's eyes glowed faintly as she scanned the area. "They are here," she said quietly. "Not in the colonies themselves, but in hidden satellites and orbital platforms. They are monitoring this sector, waiting for someone to come too close." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we need a plan that doesn't alert them." "Stealth first, attack second," Liara nodded. "Agreed, we will split our approach. I will scout from the outer orbit, detecting energy flows and enemy movement. You will enter the colonies and gather intelligence from the ground. We meet back here with what we learn." Ethan felt a rush of adrenaline. The quiet life he had dreamed of was long gone. Danger awaited at every step. But he had Liara by his side, someone he trusted completely. And perhaps he realized he had missed this. The thrill of action, the certainty that every choice mattered, the bond formed in the face of impossible odds. Descending toward the first colony, Ethan felt the hum of the ship's systems. The planet below was bathed in a cold gray light, its surface scarred by past conflicts. Craters, twisted metal, and abandoned structures made it clear that this place had once been a battlefield. As Ethan landed, Liara remained in orbit, sending him updates and energy readings. "Drones are active," she warned. "Avoid open areas. Use the ruins for cover." Ethan moved cautiously through the debris. Every step was measured. He scanned the horizon, noticing shadows moving in patterns that suggested automated patrols. The rogue faction had not been idle. They had set up defenses that would challenge even a skilled warrior. Hours passed as he navigated through crumbling buildings, hacked into old communication systems, and mapped the hidden pathways. Every discovery added pieces to the puzzle, revealing the faction's strategy. They were preparing for something large, something that required coordination across multiple colonies. Back in orbit, Liara analyzed the energy readings Ethan sent. "They are powering up small reactors," she said. "It is part of the stellar core network. If they synchronize these reactors, the weapon's energy will reach critical mass. We must stop them before that happens." Ethan paused, thinking about the stakes. Entire star systems, innocent lives, and the fragile peace of the galaxy depended on their success. He felt a familiar weight, the responsibility of being a human who could make a difference. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy, not the fastest, not the most technologically advanced, but their courage, creativity, and determination could turn the tide. And he would prove that once again. As night fell over the colony, Ethan found a secure building to rest. He used the downtime to study the plans, review maps, and prepare for the next phase. His mind wandered briefly to Liara. Her presence in orbit guiding him reminded him of the nights they had spent side by side in battle, sharing strategies, and surviving against impossible odds. He felt a bond that time and distance had not broken. Suddenly, an alert on his scanner went off. Ethan froze. Small drones, camouflaged against the terrain, were approaching his location. The rogue faction had detected his presence. Ethan acted quickly, moving through a narrow alley between ruined structures. The drones scanned the area, their sensors glowing faintly. Ethan ducked behind a wall, his heart pounding. Using his knowledge of engineering, he hacked one of the nearby terminals, sending false signals to confuse the drones. They paused, recalibrating, giving him just enough time to move. From orbit, Liara's voice came through the communicator. "You are skilled, Ethan. Keep moving toward the reactor hub. I am monitoring all activity from here." Ethan smiled faintly despite the danger. Even after all these years, he felt alive in a way he had forgotten. The thrill of survival, the satisfaction of solving problems under pressure, the partnership with someone who understood him. This was a reminder of why humans were capable of extraordinary things. After hours of careful navigation, Ethan finally reached the central hub of the colony. The building was massive, partially buried in debris with signs of recent activity. He could feel the energy from the reactors pulsing faintly beneath the surface. Liara's voice guided him through the next steps. "You need to access the main console and extract all data on their energy network. I will create a temporary shield around your location to prevent detection. Be quick. They are mobilizing forces to protect the hub." Ethan entered the building, moving silently, using shadows and debris as cover. The interior was dark, the remnants of old technology scattered across the floors. He approached the main console, carefully overriding security protocols. Every second counted. Finally, he accessed the data, downloading information about the stellar core network, its activation sequences, and the locations of all hidden reactors. He sent the data to Liara, who analyzed it immediately. "Well done," she said. "With this, we can plan our next move. The weapon's activation is imminent, but we now know how to stop it. Prepare yourself, Ethan. The real challenge begins soon." Ethan nodded, feeling both exhaustion and determination. The rogue faction was clever, but humans had something they could not predict: courage, adaptability, and the ability to fight for what mattered. He had survived impossible odds before, and with Liara by his side, he would do it again. As he looked out at the stars from the ruined colony, Ethan realized one thing clearly: peace was never given. It was earned, and sometimes it required humans to rise above their limits, to face danger with courage, and to protect the galaxy in ways that no one else could. And he would rise. The stars streaked past Liara's ship as it moved silently through the void. Ethan sat beside her, reviewing the data he had collected from the rogue faction's hidden hub. Every detail revealed a dangerous plan. Multiple reactors spread across abandoned colonies, energy flows linked in a network, and the stellar core ready to trigger a catastrophic chain reaction. The scale of the threat was greater than anything he had faced before. Liara's eyes glowed faintly as she analyzed the information. "We now know their positions," she said, "but reaching them will be difficult. They are guarding each colony with drones, automated defenses, and traps. Any mistake could alert the others and accelerate the weapon's activation." Ethan leaned back in his seat, running a hand over his face. The calm life he had once imagined was impossible now. But he felt something stronger than fear: determination. Humans had survived worse odds, and he had faced death before. And with Liara by his side, he felt he could face anything. We split our approach, Liara continued. You take the ground route, moving between colonies and disabling reactors. I will remain in orbit, guiding you and intervening if the drones become too numerous. We must work together. Our strength is in our teamwork. Ethan nodded, feeling a surge of confidence. Understood. Let's begin. The first colony was only a few light minutes away, a crumbling settlement that had once thrived during the early days of interstellar expansion. Its buildings were cracked and weathered, overgrown with alien flora, and the air smelled faintly of metal and decay. Ethan moved cautiously, every sense alert. Liara's voice came through his communicator. The first reactor is near the center of the colony. There are patrol drones. Avoid open areas and use the shadows. I am monitoring their positions. Move slowly, Ethan. He crouched behind a crumbled wall, observing the drones' movements. They were small, sleek machines with glowing sensors, programmed to detect energy signatures and motion. Ethan noted their patterns carefully, waiting for the perfect moment to move. The first step was always observation. He had learned during the war that patience saved lives. Moving too quickly would trigger alarms, and the rogue faction was no stranger to traps. With careful precision, he advanced from cover to cover, using debris and ruined buildings to shield his approach. Hours passed as he navigated the colony. He avoided detection, deactivated smaller automated systems, and carefully planted disruption devices to prevent the drones from alerting the network. Every move required strategy and calculation, blending human ingenuity with the alien technology Liara had taught him to use. Finally, he reached the central building housing the first reactor. It was an imposing structure, partially buried and surrounded by energy barriers. Ethan examined the barriers, understanding their function. They pulsed with energy, detecting movement and interference. But with Liara's guidance, he found a safe path through. Careful, Liara's voice warned. The reactor is highly sensitive. Any wrong touch could trigger a feedback loop. Ethan moved slowly, overriding the security protocols with his tools. He felt a thrill as he succeeded in bypassing the barriers without detection. The reactor hummed softly, its energy core glowing faintly. He planted a device to disable it, ensuring it could not connect to the network. Done, he whispered into the communicator. Reactor 1 is offline. Excellent, Liara replied. Now move to the second colony. The next reactor is larger and more heavily defended. Be ready. Ethan nodded, feeling the adrenaline coursing through him. The first success was a boost, but he knew the hardest challenges were still ahead. As he left the first colony, drones began to patrol more aggressively. It was as if the rogue faction sensed disruption in their network. The journey to the next colony was treacherous. Ethan navigated asteroid fields, broken space stations, and regions where solar radiation could interfere with his suit and equipment. Liara guided him from orbit, providing real-time data and warnings. Hours turned into days as they moved between colonies. Each reactor they disabled weakened the stellar core network, but the rogue faction adapted quickly. They set traps, increased patrols, and used deception to slow Ethan's progress. During one approach, Ethan encountered a series of false corridors in an abandoned colony. He realized too late that the floors were rigged with energy traps. He froze, calculating the safest path. Using his tools, he deactivated the first trap, narrowly avoiding detection. The second trap required him to reroute power lines manually, testing both skill and patience. Finally, he succeeded, and the path cleared. Liara's voice was steady, calm, and encouraging. You are doing well, Ethan. Remember, every reactor offline brings us closer to safety. Trust yourself. Ethan smiled faintly, feeling the human resilience he had always relied upon. He had survived countless dangers, but this challenge was different. It was not a single battle. It was a series of tests, each demanding focus, courage, and determination. As they approached the fourth colony, Ethan sensed the enemy had grown more desperate. Drones were faster, sensors more sensitive, and automated defenses more aggressive. He moved cautiously, ducking behind walls, crawling through vents, and carefully disabling each system. Suddenly, a patrol drone detected a faint energy signature from his suit. Alarms blared. Ethan's heart raced. He had to act fast. Using a small device Liara had given him, he created a temporary energy shield around himself. The drone's sensors failed to detect him, and it moved on. He exhaled, realizing how narrow the margin for error was. Liara spoke urgently through the communicator. They are mobilizing reinforcements. The final reactor is heavily guarded. You must move quickly but cautiously. I will assist from orbit, providing cover when needed. Ethan nodded, feeling both the weight of responsibility and the thrill of the mission. The final reactor was the key to stopping the stellar core network. If they succeeded, entire star systems would be saved. If they failed, the consequences were unimaginable. He reached the central hub of the fourth colony, a towering structure with energy fields pulsing like a heartbeat. He examined the barriers, noting their vulnerabilities. With careful precision, he planted disruption devices, bypassed security protocols, and prepared to disable the reactor. Liara's voice guided him every step of the way. Now, Ethan, focus, you can do this. With a deep breath, Ethan initiated the shutdown sequence. The reactor's hum slowed, energy readings dropped, and finally the core went dark. A surge of relief washed over him. Another step toward victory had been achieved. But before he could celebrate, alarms blared across the colony. Reinforcements had arrived. Drones, larger and more advanced than any before, began to converge on his location. Ethan's heart pounded. There was no time to retreat. Liara's voice was calm but firm. Stay focused. Use the environment. I am deploying temporary shields from orbit. You have this. Ethan moved through the ruins, dodging lasers, leaping over debris, and using his tools to disable drones where possible. Each move required strategy, speed, and courage. The rogue faction had underestimated human ingenuity, underestimating how determination and quick thinking could turn the tide. Hours passed in a blur of movement, strategy, and survival. Ethan's body was exhausted, but his mind was sharp. Finally, with Liara's guidance, he reached a secure location outside the colony. The reinforcements had been delayed, giving them a temporary advantage. Ethan sent the last batch of data to Liara. All 4 reactors offline. Only the final one remains. Liara's voice softened slightly, almost proud. Well done, Ethan. You have done what many thought impossible. Rest now. The final confrontation will be the greatest test yet, but together we can succeed. As they prepared for the next step, Ethan looked out at the stars. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, yet standing beside Liara, he felt ready. Humans were often underestimated, fragile in appearance compared to alien species, but their courage, adaptability, and determination could overcome even the greatest challenges. For Ethan, this mission was more than stopping a weapon. It was a reminder of why humans mattered, why courage and intelligence could make a difference. And with Liara by his side, he was ready to face whatever awaited them in the final colony. The stars glimmered, silent witnesses to the unfolding struggle, and somewhere in the darkness the rogue faction waited, unaware that the human and the alien warrior were closing in, determined to protect the galaxy from destruction. The final colony loomed ahead, dark and imposing against the star-streaked sky. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest, knowing this would be the ultimate challenge. The stellar core's last reactor, hidden deep within the colony's central fortress, was heavily guarded. Every step forward would be a test of skill, courage, and strategy. Liara piloted their ship carefully, maintaining a low orbit to avoid detection while keeping Ethan updated. The final reactor is here, she said, her voice calm but filled with intensity. Drones and automated defenses are numerous. Their leader has joined the fortress personally. This will not be easy, Ethan. Ethan nodded, gripping his tools tightly. He had faced impossible odds before, but this was the most dangerous mission yet. He took a deep breath, reminding himself that human ingenuity and courage had overcome far greater challenges. He would not fail. The landing was silent. Ethan moved quickly through the debris surrounding the fortress, scanning for patrols and traps. His suit's sensors picked up multiple energy fields and automated defenses, each more sophisticated than the last. But he had prepared for this. Using a combination of Liara's alien guidance and his own human creativity, he mapped a path through the hazards. Liara's voice guided him. Use the ruins to your advantage. The corridors are narrow. Drones cannot follow you easily. Move carefully, Ethan. Patience is your ally. He advanced slowly, every step deliberate. The fortress walls were tall and reinforced, but there were gaps and vents that offered hidden paths. Ethan ducked into shadows, crawling through tight spaces and avoiding sensors. His mind raced, calculating every move, anticipating every danger. As he entered the inner courtyard, a large patrol drone appeared, its sensors scanning rapidly. Ethan froze, then activated a small device from his pack. It emitted a pulse that temporarily disrupted the drone's sensors. The machine paused, allowing him to slip past unnoticed. Liara's voice was steady. Good work. Keep moving. The reactor is just ahead, but the leader is nearby. Be ready for anything. Ethan approached the reactor chamber, a massive room with energy cores glowing faintly along the walls. The stellar core pulsed at the center, its energy radiating through the floor and ceiling. He could feel its power even from a distance. This was the source of the rogue faction's threat, and it had to be stopped. Suddenly, the chamber doors hissed open. The rogue leader, a tall, imposing figure clad in dark armor, stepped forward. His presence radiated authority and danger. "So the human thinks he can stop me," he said, voice cold and commanding. "You are far from home, and you will fail." Ethan tightened his grip on his tools. "I've faced worse odds than you," he replied, voice steady. "And I have allies who won't let me fail." Liara appeared beside him, stepping from the shadows with her own weapons ready. Her alien features were calm but determined. "You underestimate humans," she said softly, yet every word carried strength. "Their courage and ingenuity are more dangerous than you realize." The rogue leader laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the chamber. "We shall see," he said, signaling for the drones to attack. Ethan reacted quickly, using the environment to his advantage. He ducked behind a console as lasers fired past, striking the walls with sparks and heat. Liara moved with fluid precision, disabling drones with quick strikes and energy pulses. Together, they formed a seamless team, human and alien instinct and strategy combined. Ethan scanned the room for weak points in the stellar core network. The reactors along the walls were interconnected, and if he could disrupt the energy flow, the weapon could be neutralized. He moved from cover to cover, planting devices that would short-circuit the cores without triggering the main system. The rogue leader approached Liara, their weapons clashing with a burst of sparks. Ethan focused on the energy cores, careful not to get distracted. Every second counted. The room was filled with the hum of power, the crackle of lasers, and the sound of footsteps echoing across the chamber. One of the drones managed to bypass Liara's defenses. Firing directly at Ethan, he rolled behind a pillar, narrowly avoiding the blast. Using a quick burst from his device, he disabled the drone before it could fire again. He felt the familiar rush of adrenaline, the combination of fear and focus that sharpened his mind and reflexes. Liara called out, "Ethan, you're almost there. 3 more cores to disrupt." He moved quickly, planting devices and overriding security systems. Sparks flew as energy flows were cut, each reactor going dark one by one. The stellar core's hum grew weaker, its energy fluctuating as the network began to collapse. The rogue leader realized what was happening. He roared in anger and charged toward Ethan, swinging a weapon crackling with energy. Ethan barely had time to react, using his tools and environment to deflect the attack. Liara intervened, engaging the leader and keeping him occupied while Ethan finished the last steps. With a final adjustment, Ethan disabled the last reactor. The stellar core shuddered, then fell silent. Energy readings dropped, and the threat that had loomed over the galaxy for months was neutralized. The rogue leader froze, disbelief etched across his face. "Impossible," he muttered. "A human and an alien."
"Defeating me?"
Liara stepped forward, her weapon ready. "Humans have courage," she said, voice steady. "And when courage meets intelligence and teamwork, no weapon is undefeatable." The rogue leader tried one last attack, but Liara and Ethan worked together seamlessly. She deflected his strikes while Ethan disabled the remaining drones around him. Within moments, the leader was disarmed and trapped. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of exhaustion and relief. The mission was not over. They still had to ensure the stellar core network was permanently neutralized, but the immediate danger was gone. The rogue faction had been stopped, and the galaxy was safe once more. Liara approached Ethan, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You have done it, Ethan. Against impossible odds, you have saved countless lives. Your courage, determination, and skill have proven what humans can achieve." Ethan smiled faintly, looking at the reactor room one last time. "We did it together," he said. "Humans, aliens, working as one," Liara nodded. "Yes, and that is a lesson the galaxy must remember. Strength alone is not enough. Unity, trust, and courage make all the difference." They surveyed the chamber, ensuring no energy cores remained active. Ethan documented the shutdown procedures, sending all data to Allied forces for safekeeping. Liara monitored from her systems, confirming that the rogue faction could not reassemble or reactivate the weapon. As they prepared to leave the colony, Ethan reflected on the mission. The danger, the strategy, the teamwork, it had reminded him why humans were capable of extraordinary things. They had survived, not because of brute strength or advanced technology alone, but because of courage, creativity, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. Liara's voice broke his thoughts. "Ethan, we are clear to leave. The network is destroyed, and the rogue faction is neutralized. The galaxy is safe for now." He nodded, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and accomplishment. "Then it's time to return home," he said. "Or, at least back to somewhere we can rest." Liara smiled faintly. "There is one more thing, human. Your actions today have reminded me of something I feared I might forget during our time apart." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "And what is that?" Liara looked at him with eyes that reflected the stars themselves. "The bond we share. It was forged in war, strengthened by trust and proven through danger. Today it has reminded me that some connections are unbreakable, no matter the distance, the time, or the challenge." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. The missions, the dangers, the shared victories, they had created something more than friendship or camaraderie. It was a bond built on respect, trust, and shared courage, something that no war, no weapon, and no rogue faction could ever erase. As they left the colony behind, the stars stretched endlessly before them. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, filled with dangers and opportunities, but together Ethan and Liara had proven that humans, even in their fragility, could rise to meet the impossible. And in that moment, Ethan realized that the greatest victories were not only over enemies, but over fear, doubt, and the limits of what one thought possible. The galaxy was safe, at least for now, but more importantly, the human spirit had once again proven its worth. Liara's ship moved silently through the void, carrying them away from the battleground and toward a future filled with stars, challenges, and perhaps new beginnings. Ethan looked at her, feeling a sense of gratitude and respect he had never fully expressed. "Thank you, Liara," he said softly, "for trusting me and for returning." She smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting starlight. "I did not return for thanks, Ethan. I returned because I knew the galaxy needed humans like you, and perhaps because I knew that some bonds cannot be forgotten." The two of them sat in silence, gazing at the endless stars. The danger was over for now, but the universe was vast and full of surprises. Yet Ethan felt ready. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and with courage, intelligence, and allies who believed in them, they would continue to rise, no matter what challenges awaited among the stars. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport, calm after the chaos of battle. Ethan leaned back in the pilot seat, letting out a long breath. The stellar core network had been destroyed, the rogue faction neutralized, and for the first time in weeks, he allowed himself a moment of relief. Liara sat beside him, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of distant suns. She had been silent for a while, thoughtful, yet her presence radiated a quiet confidence. "The galaxy owes you a great debt, human," she said softly. "Without your courage and ingenuity, many systems would have faced destruction." Ethan shrugged, a faint smile on his face. "I only did what I had to do. We did it together." Liara studied him, her alien features calm but focused. "True, but humans, you possess something the galaxy often underestimates. Your resilience, creativity, and determination are remarkable. You inspire hope where others see despair." Ethan glanced out at the stars, remembering the long journey through abandoned colonies, deadly patrols, and the final confrontation with the rogue leader. Every reactor he had disabled, every drone he had evaded, every strategic move he had made, it all seemed surreal now. And yet it had happened. Humans had made a difference, and he had played a central role. Liara's voice interrupted his thoughts. "Ethan, there is one matter we must address before returning to human space." He turned to her, curious. "And what's that?" She took a deep breath. "During the mission, I realized something important. Our time apart, our different paths, it does not change the bond we share. I came for the galaxy, yes, but I also came for you. Some connections are stronger than distance, than time, and stronger than even the dangers we face." Ethan's chest tightened. He had sensed it too. The connection formed years ago during the war, strengthened by trust, teamwork, and countless near-death experiences. But he had never expected her to say it aloud. "You mean?" he began, but Liara nodded. "Yes," she said softly. "I do not wish to lose this bond again. The galaxy is vast and the future uncertain. But I want you to know that I trust you and I value you." Ethan felt a warmth he could not put into words. Humans had often survived through courage, intelligence, and instinct. But connections like these were rare, unbreakable, meaningful, and powerful. "I feel the same," he admitted. "No matter where the galaxy takes us, I'll be there, Liara. I'll never forget you." Liara smiled faintly, a soft light in her eyes. "Then we have much to discuss and perhaps much to explore together." The ship's systems hummed quietly as they set a course back to human space. For hours they traveled in silence, each lost in thought, yet aware of the shared understanding between them. The galaxy was no longer a place of immediate danger, but it was still unpredictable, full of unknowns. And yet, for the first time in a long while, Ethan felt hope, not just for humanity, but for the bond that had survived war, separation, and danger. Days later, they reached the outer rim of human space. Communication signals were restored, and Allied fleets awaited news of the stellar core's neutralization. Ethan and Liara transmitted the full report, ensuring that every detail, every strategy, and every piece of intelligence was preserved. The response was immediate. Gratitude, admiration, and relief spread across human colonies. Humanity had been given a second chance, and much of that was thanks to Ethan. Despite the accolades and recognition, Ethan felt no arrogance. He had acted out of necessity, courage, and the belief that humans could rise to meet impossible challenges. And in doing so, he had rediscovered a truth he had known all along. Humans were not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most technologically advanced, but they were persistent, creative, and capable of extraordinary deeds when it mattered most. Liara looked at him as the transmissions concluded. "You have reminded the galaxy of something essential, Ethan, that humans, despite their seeming fragility, can achieve greatness. That courage and intelligence, when combined with determination, can overcome even the most formidable threats." Ethan smiled faintly. "Then our mission succeeded in more ways than one. The stellar core is gone, the rogue faction defeated, and humanity's spirit has proven itself once again." Liara nodded, her eyes reflecting both admiration and something deeper. "Yes, and I hope that we can continue to stand together, as allies and as friends, perhaps even more." Ethan felt his chest tighten again, the unspoken understanding between them clear. They had faced death, danger, and betrayal, yet their bond had endured. The galaxy had tested them, and they had emerged stronger, united not just by mission, but by trust and respect. As they approached the human colonies, Ethan thought of the future. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries, dangers, and opportunities. Rogue factions, hidden weapons, and conflicts would continue to arise. But humans, resilient, clever, and brave, would face them. And with allies like Liara, humanity's place among the stars was assured. Landing on the central hub, Ethan and Liara were greeted by cheers and grateful faces. Leaders of human colonies, fellow soldiers, and civilians all expressed their gratitude. For Ethan, it was a moment of pride, but also humility. Recognition was fleeting. The lessons of courage, teamwork, and resilience were enduring. Liara stood beside him, quiet but proud. "You have done what many thought impossible," she said softly. "Not just for humans, but for the galaxy. The stellar core threat is gone, and the bond between our species has grown stronger because of your actions." Ethan nodded, looking out at the people who had been saved, at the ships in the hangar, and at the stars beyond. "We all have a part to play," he said. "Some of us fight, some of us lead, some of us support, but together we are stronger than any weapon, any threat, any obstacle." Liara placed a hand on his shoulder. "And some bonds survive even the most impossible odds. I am glad ours has endured." Ethan smiled, feeling the weight of everything they had endured lift slightly. The danger was gone, but the lessons remained. Humans were not perfect, but they were courageous, intelligent, and resilient. And with allies who believed in them, they could rise to any challenge. As the celebrations continued, Ethan and Liara slipped away from the crowd. They stood together on a quiet balcony, looking out at the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of possibilities. You think we'll face more challenges? Ethan asked, a faint smile on his lips. Liara nodded. The galaxy never rests, but we are ready. Together. Ethan looked at her, gratitude and respect shining in his eyes. Together, he agreed. The stars shimmered silently, a reminder of both the dangers they had faced and the infinite opportunities ahead. Humanity had survived another test, and Ethan had proven that courage, intelligence, and determination could shape the future. Liara had returned, not just for the galaxy, but for a bond that refused to fade. And in that moment, among the quiet stars and the soft hum of the human hub, Ethan realized something profound. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of unknowns, but humans, when guided by courage, trust, and determination, could rise above any challenge. And some bonds forged in fire and tested by fate were stronger than time, distance, and danger. Ethan turned to Liara, feeling hope and confidence he had never known. No matter what comes next, he said softly, we face it together. Liara's eyes glimmered in the starlight. Always human, always, and together, they looked out at the endless stars, ready for the future, ready for the challenges, and ready for a galaxy where humanity's spirit shone brighter than any weapon, stronger than any foe, and enduring through the vastness of space. The adventure had ended, but the story, the courage, the bond, and the human spirit would continue, shining like a star among the countless others in the galaxy.